Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. I've always said this camera will film in the dark. I'm trying to prove the point, but that's not... Oh god, I've got a horrible reflection on my glasses. Let's see if we can get rid of that. That's going to be really annoying. It looks like I've got sparkles in my eyes, doesn't it? Oh well, so be it. This is a budget update. The new government has produced their budget, which is the first one in 14 years. There's a reason for that. They weren't in power for 14 years. There's a reason for that, because they made a complete whatnot of their previous reign. The new lot came in and promised wonders and achieved some of it, not a lot, some of it. And towards the end of their reign, they made such a pig's ear that the old regime are now the new regime. There's a famous song by The Who. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. And this budget has summed up that across the board. This lot have always been known for high taxes, big spending that they can't afford, so huge borrowing to make up for it. And they've just done exactly that. So they haven't changed one little bit. Now I'm going to go personal now. How does this affect me? Not a huge amount, but it is. It's underlying. It's hidden. It's not obvious. Now I get my state pension. I worked all my life and paid in, and at the end you get your pension, which you're supposed to be able to live on. If you look at the national minimum wage, which has just gone up substantially, there's a point there, yeah? That comes to a rather large amount per year compared with what I get on a state pension per year. But I'm supposed to be able to live on that. Point number one. So, as a pensioner, what has this budget done for me? Well, first of all, they haven't increased fuel duty. That sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But it doesn't do anything to the price of fuel that dramatically went up as a consequence of a bunch of arseholes, excuse my French, invading their neighbouring country and whacking up the fuel and energy prices across the board. Energy prices skyrocketed. They've come down a bit, not as a consequence of this new government, but as a consequence of the old government. Possibly just market forces, I don't know. But at the end of the day, they haven't come down to anything like they were before. And as a pensioner, I've just had my winter fuel allowance taken away, which would have topped up the bad 3 months of the year, the December, January and February, when it's at its coldest. So my personal bill, would have gone up dramatically in those 3 months. That winter fuel payment would have compensated for that increase over those 3 months. That's been taken away. Yeah, you would kick in now, wouldn't you? You've had all evening to start up and you do it now. So basically, as a pensioner, I'm worse off straight away. What else then? Fuel duty frozen, but that doesn't compensate for the massive increase in fuel prices that happened as a consequence. We know why. So fuel hasn't come down, so when I get in my car, I pay tax on my purchase of the car, I pay road tax to use our road system, I pay VAT on my insurance, which is a tax, and I pay tax on my fuel. Yeah? So nothing's changed in my car. Use of my car now costs more than it ever has. So that's a bill that I have to fund. What else have we got then? Housing. Well, it doesn't affect me, does it? The new government have brought in some legislation that should help renting people not get kicked out of their house unduly. Well, I'm not in that position, so that probably doesn't affect me. It might do, but it doesn't now. What else have we got then? What else do I spend my money on? Food and wine. We'll class that as food across the board, right? So food. Food has dramatically increased over the last 3 years due to very high inflation. That high inflation was due to market forces and directly as a consequence of going back to the reason why our energy and our fuel prices went up. Same reason. Got a lot of answer for that lot. So my food prices, inflation's coming down. That doesn't stop the prices going up, it just stops them going up as fast, and it doesn't bring the prices down. So my food bill over the last 3 years has increased by about 30%. Has my income increased by 30%? As it hell. Now, the previous government, you have in this country what are called tax thresholds, which means up to a threshold you can have income that doesn't get taxed. If you go over that threshold, you get taxed at the basic rate. There's another threshold farther up the line which is nothing to do with me because I can never get near it, so I don't care. That's for the so-called rich people, and unfortunately that tax threshold does not constitute a rich person anymore, not because of everything else they have to pay. So anyway, the previous government put those tax thresholds up each year to correspond to any increases in people like me, pensioners. Now over the last couple of years, because inflation has been so high, my pension has gone up quite dramatically. And at some point, the previous government, a couple of years ago, froze those tax thresholds. So my pension now goes into the tax bracket. This new government, they do a big thumbs up and say, aren't we wonderful people? The pensioners' pension, state pension, will go up by 4.1% in April next year. Yeah. But all of that will be in the tax bracket because they've frozen the thresholds. So 20% of that they get back. So give it with one hand, take it with another. Now that increase is actually double the inflation rate. So minus 20%, it is a net profit. But it's not going to cover the everything else that I have to pay for. So overall, as a pensioner, I've got nothing out of this budget. And I sat back this afternoon before I watched the TV to see what was going on, and I knew that's what I would come away with. I knew that nothing would head towards the pensioners because we have no union and we have no strike ability. We can do nothing about our lot. These are the people that in the main, not all, in the main have worked all their lives and paid into the system. However, people are coming across the English Channel that have paid nothing into the system are better off than me. They get given a phone, they get help, they get accommodation, they get everything given to them for doing nothing. And this is the big deal in this country because it's upsetting an awful lot of people. And when you get a mass of people upset about a fundamental thing like that, you're going to get riots. There will be unrest, and I can see it coming. Am I going to be in the middle of it? In this quiet little suburb of a small town on the south coast? Probably not. But the big cities will get it. They'll get it in the neck. And it's coming. I don't know how soon, but it's coming. So, as a budget, it's done nothing for me, I don't think. Holding the fuel duty. Okay, my petrol price is not going to go up anytime soon, but it's still high. It's still a lot higher than it used to be. And taking inflation into account is higher than it should be. Well, that's not necessarily this country and this government's fault, as I've said before, but nonetheless it's happened. The reason is actually none of my business. How it's happened, I don't care. I'm interested in the end result. So everything to do with my car, now they haven't put up the road tax, the amount I pay to have my car on the road, that's stayed the same. At the moment, give them a chance. They haven't changed the VAT rate, so the tax on my insurance hasn't changed. Nonetheless, because of the fuel prices and the inflation that's actually created by putting wages up, yeah, car repairs are now a lot more expensive. So are parts. Everything to do with the car industry is now more expensive. As a consequence, the insurance rates are dramatically going up, of which they get 20% tax every time somebody pays for their insurance. Yeah, it's a vicious circle. And I don't see any relief. I don't see my living standards getting better. At best, they are staying the same, which is not good. That's not good, because they've gone downhill over the last 3 or 4 years. My living standards have gone downhill. My expenditure against my income is the wrong way round. So what do we do about it? Well, we have another glass of wine and say to the lot of you, excuse my, but that's how I feel. I have no input, I have no effect. No matter what I say or do, I can change nothing. So we just muddle on through, don't we? But you know, there's a point where you sort of think, what is the end game here? Where is that end game? And the end game is my living standards are slowly going downhill. They have been for some time. I'm not necessarily blaming the new government for that. That's part and parcel of governments, successive governments basically. But it's not good. This country is becoming a third world country. And there is one, if you look on YouTube, look for, I don't know whether Poland's got a president or a dictator. I don't know who's in charge of Poland. But look up on YouTube the guy in Poland who's making a lot of noise. If you go to Poland, this is a Eastern European country, was once probably under the regime that's now causing so much grief and trouble. But nonetheless, they're now an independent country. I think they're part of the European Union. They make their own rules. This guy makes a lot of sense. He says, in my country, you can walk the streets safely. We have the lowest crime level in the whole of the EU. We have reasonable living standards. And he puts it down to one reason, and one reason only. I'm not going to say it because I could get clobbered for saying it. And in this country, rules have been changed such that I could even go to prison for making that statement. So I'm not going to make it. But you can go and look. Have a look for the guy from Poland making his case for one particular item. And I believe that is the item that's wrong in this country. Can I get done for that? Possibly. But it would need somebody to watch this video of importance, and who the hell that's important is ever going to watch one of my videos. This is a rant. It will be telegraphed as a rant. You can choose to watch it, you can choose not to watch it, you can choose to agree, you can choose to disagree. And at the bottom line on a video like this, I don't care what anybody else thinks. These are my views on what's going on in my country, and I don't like it. There was a time in the past when I was going to emigrate to Spain for some sunshine, a cheaper living standard for the money I had, and before I got my backside in gear and actually got round to doing it. Brexit came along and it's now not possible. I can't emigrate to Spain anymore. It wouldn't work. Because they change their rules. People that are not in the EU can't just pop along to Spain anymore. You've got to prove that you can support yourself and you're not going to make any dependencies or demands on the state. Good for you. Absolutely brilliant. And we need more of that. Countries, okay, you might be in the European Union, but there's still an element of country independence that I think is important. A country has something about it that is unique to that country. And we're all different. We all have a history. And some of that might not be very pleasant, but it's still our history. And we now have our times in the present. And I think it's how we present ourselves to the rest of the world in this present. And we're not doing very well. We're not doing very well at all. We have policies, some call them lefty pinkos, some people call them far right. You know, I mean, if I go and stand outside with a Union Jack and say long live Britain, I'm classed as far right. This is heading towards fascism. Because I like my country? Well, I don't, but if I did, which I don't. I'm getting to the point where I don't even like being here. But I'm stuck with it. There's nothing I can do about it. But what a state for our country to get in, where the people born and bred here, part of our culture, everything that this country stands for, no longer like it. They don't like the way it's going. And can they do anything about it? No. And that's what's upsetting people. And that's what I believe is going to cause some serious problems in the not too distant future. It's coming. It's not nice. I don't want to be part of it, but I believe it's coming. We've had an instance not that long ago, due to misrepresentation and false information in social media, but we had riots. And the laws were changed such that if you go and demonstrate and say some rather obscure and nasty things about other people, you can go to prison. However, there are people in prison that have been tried and convicted for crimes are being let out to make room for these people who did nothing more than hold a banner up and perhaps say some words that some people didn't agree with. What's it coming to? Anyway, I've proved that the camera can film in the dark. Which is all I came out here to do. It's a rant. There's some of my views in there. And there may be some of the things I've said that are going to upset people. Tough. Man up. Stand up for what you believe in. Don't knuckle under. Don't cower in the corner. That's not the way to be. But what else can I do? I can't do anything. I can't even get to London and hold a placard up. It'd probably make my arm ache. Especially as we've had a hole in that arm today. I've had my COVID jab, my booster. We have no ill effects, obviously. But, so we've had 3 holes due to my blood test. We've got another one coming up. And we've now had a hole in the arm for the COVID. I'm going to start leaking soon. I'm going to go and finish my wine. And I'm going to put the TV back on. But I'm not going to be watching the news. I will resume the news tomorrow morning, when all the newscasters and the analysts have had time to really pull this budget apart, and we will get a more rationalised view of what effect it's going to have. Now, I know that putting up employers' national insurance, which is going to raise quite a lot of money, those employers, especially the small businesses, are now going to think twice about employing another person because it's costing them quite a bit more. They might even think about letting some go. Yeah? And if businesses, especially small businesses, don't do well, they are the lifeblood of the country. Now, this government tries to define working class people. Well, first of all, there's not a lot of point in a class differentiation anymore for the reasons that go with why we've got too many people in this country and most of them don't pay tax or do any work or anything else. They just arrive with a, bit of that across the sea and they're just here. They cost us a fortune. An absolute fortune. Think what else that money could be spent on. It's outrageous. And I'm against it. Very against it. I don't care where they've come from. I don't care what colour they are. I don't care what the troubles are that they've left. Sort it out in your own place. Don't bring it here. So I'm with the Polish guy. I don't even know what his name is. But, we've got to try and sort our own problems out. This is an island. It's got a boundary. It's called the sea. It's called the oceans. And in the main, it's called the English Channel. And it's full. Now, if I drive out into the countryside, I could film it tomorrow. I can drive for half an hour and film, and you won't see anything but fields and trees. That's our production land. It's where we grow our food and stuff. It's not meant to be for houses, but it's getting taken over slowly but surely because we need more houses. Now, we shouldn't need more houses for our own population because they are dying faster than they're being born. So why do we need loads more houses? Well, first of all, they haven't built enough over the past God knows how many years. But nonetheless, the need for housing is greatly increased by the increase in our population that's not due to births. If we balanced and said, these are the people that live here, these are the people that maybe get married or whatever and have kids and bring them up, and these are the people that get off the tail end like me soon and drop off. And there would be a net loss. Trust me, there would be a net loss. And everything would balance out. And give it an amount of time, there would be enough housing, prices would come down, rents would come down because the demand dropped off. The only reason that's going up and up is people coming in from elsewhere. So I'm with the guy in Poland, and it's starting to get to the point where if somebody doesn't do something, the people may. I won't be one of those people because I don't believe in that sort of thing, but I can see it coming. A warning shot. Cheers. Back to dozing off in the chair and having some kip. And maybe I'll wake up tomorrow morning and all the troubles will have gone away. Fat chance. See you next time. Bye for now.